So about a year ago I decided to upgrade my existing cameras and I went for a Hasselblad 500 CM. And I went for this specific model not because of the legacy or the mystic behind the name Hasselblad, but for the lenses that come along with it. My initial model came with a Zeiss T 80mm f2.8 lens, but shortly afterwards I bought a second Hasselblad, and I bought it just because it was of a fair price. It was not overpriced like any Hasselblad that you find nowadays. And this one came with the 150mm Zeiss f4. And of course, these are both outstandingly super sharp lenses, but they will not make you a better photographer. As a matter of fact, they will boost your confidence, but your photography level still will remain the same. You are not a better photographer if you buy a Mamiya, a Hasselblad, a Sony, a Nikon or a Canon. You will be a better photographer if you start to buy books about photography, to see photographs and to deconstruct them in order to learn from the great masters. So when you look at one of them photos, decide to deconstruct them constructively for you, so you can learn how they do it. Take your time, look at it and see and try to understand how it was done. There is the knowledge of photography. And please truly believe on the words that I'm about to say. The world does not need more of your shit sunset photographs. Now with the intro out of the way, the Hasselblad was one of the cameras, if not the best well-known camera, to be on the moon. And most of the images that you've probably seen of the moon landing itself were taken with the Hasselblad 500, a motorized version, which was later sent through production, but this was the experimental one, the very first motorized version of the Hasselblad 500 series. And the 500 series Hasselblad got used by several well-known photographers and made its way to several well-known movies that I really don't recommend to see, because I've seen this one at least twice and I really don't get the meaning of it. And I've spoken about this movie to several other people who saw it already, and they all talk about the idea that the Nikon substituted the Nikon in a professional way, but they all miss the main gist, which is the history of the film, which no one gets it at the end, and I'm one of them who doesn't get it either. But when talking about the Hasselblad, one needs also to talk about its rivals, namely the Bronica Zenza and the Mamiya RB and RZ series. And while the Bronica was not quite in par with the quality of the Hasselblad, the Mamiya was not so. And the Mamiya stood a very healthy rival to the Hasselblad, which afterwards, at the end run of its life, also had another rival from Ukraine, the Kiev 88. Now, this is the back of a Kiev 88, and this is the back of a Hasselblad. Can you spot the difference? They are more or less exactly the same, to a point that one will fit the other on different machines. This meaning that one is almost an exact copy of the other one. And although there are very visual key differences, they both work the same and they both do the same, having the Kiev 88 received the nickname of a poor man's Hasselblad. This is my 500C. And I don't use this camera that much because, well, it's a C model. The funny of all this is that they have both matching serial numbers. I don't know if you can see it. This is a TH and this is also a TH back, which can actually quite date when she was done. And this is the Russian-Ukrainian counterpart back. Even like this, they are very, very similar. Although this one is a Hasselblad and this one is the Kiev 88. But they are very, very identical. The big difference being this color here, and this has, I suppose it's ASA written in Russian, and this one is normal. But they are very, very similar one to the other one. The Hasselblads and the Kievs, they load very, very easily. You just pull this out and you can load it over there. This one actually had a roll of film in it. And voila, this is done. I'm going to get my other dummy roll. So they load quite similarly. I can use actually the inside of this one on the Kiev, but I'm not going to do it anyway. So you pull these two pins out. You put this one like this. This goes around this little piece. Normally what I do is I pull it out until I see this little arrow. Then you twist the knob here, you put it underneath this knob, so you can see there is this small gap here. Normally I close it and now it's fixed, and then I can put it normally like this. And voila, this is ready to go. And you're going to see, going to insert it like this. You close it and then you're going to see directly from there. Now what I do normally is I crank this manually, and I can do this with a Fomapan. Going to see there's the little arrow. You continue. You're going to see that there are some smaller arrows, and when you see these arrows means that the film is starting right there. So those arrows over there. So now I'm going to advance. There's the first dot to the second dot, and I stop here. I don't go any further. I don't go until number 1. And now I reset this to 1. So now what happens is I've started it earlier than it should have been. It should have been a 1, should be a 1 over there, but it's a dot. And I'm going to show you in practical terms what does this mean. So I'm going to do 12 shots with a Hasselblad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, this is the 12th shot, but if you look carefully, it's still not on the 12th. I'm just going to advance a little bit so you can see. It's actually on the 11th. So if I do the 12th shot now, which was done, I can actually give another one. And how do I do this? Because if I advance now, she's going to advance till the end of the roll. So I'm going to put the dark slide in like this. I'm going to remove the back. I'm going to advance. She's cocked now. I'm going to put the back again in the camera. And now manually I'm going to advance, because now it's on 11, and I'm going to advance it till number 12. And when I reach number 12, which is there, I'm going to reset the whole thing. So now here it's on number 1, but actually I'm on my 13th shot. And voila. And now I have to physically advance in here, because now this one is going to shot number 2, and shot number 2 is now completely without any film whatsoever.
Now, shooting the Hasselblad is as delicious as it can be, because on the hand she feels like a premium camera. Not only that,
but also given the fact that you're shooting people from the waist gives you a really nice advantage when doing street photography. And it's very common for me to be in Lisbon scavenging photographs with my Hasselblad, well, either with two Hasselblads, one in my bag and one in my hand, or a Nikon F and a Hasselblad, both of them conveniently tucked away on my hands and shoulders. And it was with a Hassy and an 80mm Zeiss T lens that I took some of my best shots in the subway of Lisbon. I specifically like this one because it shows me the in and out of people, the ghosts of grey people going and coming to work, everything in this bundle of urbanism. On another hand, this one is very hard to do because it's handheld and it's a 1 second exposure where I need to be extremely quiet and do the least movements possible. My adventures with a Hasselblad do not always stick to street photography. Several times I take it out for, a normal stroll in the park. And one day I was looking for some abandoned Roman ruin when actually I discovered this dog's skull. And I spent about 10 minutes looking at the skull, trying to imagine where can I put this on my frame. And this was the photograph that I took from it, where your eyes are immediately drawn to the skull. To be honest, it even looks like the skull has two eyes and they are both looking outside the frame. Now I know that there are several people who don't like the square format, but for me, and I'm talking just about myself, it's much easier to frame a subject in a square format than it is in a rectangular shape. To me, framing in a square is much more natural than in a rectangular image. And actually, using the Hasselblad as a street photography camera, it's actually very practical because you're shooting like this and you don't need to take the camera to your eye to point to make the shot. So you just need to be, completely unaware. You focus and schluck, there it is. Pretty much like a TLR that I have. This is very much the same. You just look downwards, you focus, and you make the shot, and then you follow and go somewhere else. If you don't like to do this, you can also zone focus. For instance, you're out in the street and you're photographing at f11, f16, and you put f16 for instance, and I know that I'm in focus since the infinity to 4 meters, 3.5 meters. So all I need to do is to be 3.5 meters away, and I know that I'm in focus. I just compose, take the shot, and move to do something else. It's pretty much easy and pretty much straightforward. Good camera. And before wrapping up this video, there's one last small thing that I would like to say about the Hasselblad lens, is that they are all of them synchronized. What does it mean? It means that, for instance, you need to press this lever here down, so it unlocks the mechanism, and then you choose the speed and the aperture. So for instance, we are out in the street, and I need to shoot at f16, and I know that at f16 125 would be for my ASA 100. But if you want to change aperture, you can do it and she will automatically set the things for you. So for instance, I want to shoot at the widest possible for that kind of light, so I would go at f8. At f8 you see that she's already at 500. I want to close down the aperture for some reason, I can go to f32, and f32 she will shoot at 130. And that is a very good thing because you don't need to think of anything else, you just need to shoot and you think on the aperture, and then the rest is automatically calculated. Like for instance, I want to shoot at f8, and I know that with my light meter f8 was giving me 1/60 of a second. So I would set it like this. And then I know that if I want to open the aperture, I can go to f4, and the f4 is 250 of a second. And if I want to close the aperture, I could go all the way down to f32, and she will shoot at 1/4 of a second. She will also indicate me here how much space is in focus. So for instance, I'm shooting at f32, and I'm doing the focus. I'm just focusing in, and then I know that everything from 5 meters to 30 meters will be in focus at f32. If, for instance, I reduce it to f4, you'll see that this gap here is also diminishing, and I know that everything from basically 8 meters to 10 meters to 9 meters something will be in focus. Let me just widen this. So I know that at f8, 1/60 of a second, everything from 7 meters to 10 meters will be completely in focus. And this is why Hasselblad, they do excel, and they're very, very easy to work with. That is all for now. Many thanks, and I'll see you next time. Or as we say in Portuguese, até à próxima.